OLL is all about bringing fans of video games together. The cafe opened on the 31st of May 2017, and I really didn't know what to expect at all. I wanted to go relatively small scale to start with. I didn't want to risk my entire life on everything, although it turned out that it kind of ended up being my whole life. So my first exposure to video games would have been like the little handheld LCD games. There was things like Game & Watches, but that enthralled me. As I got a little older, sort of 8 or 9, a friend got an Atari 2600, and so the first sort of true proper TV video game that I played was Defender. And then we started to get to the Mega Drive era, and that's really where I fell in love with games, from seeing things like Sonic, Streets of Rage, that kind of stuff. Once Mario Kart came on the scene, me and my friends, our attention turned more to the Nintendo side of things. I swapped my Mega Drive with my next door neighbour for a SNES. Then pretty much since then I've kept on top of all of the consoles as we've gone through the years. I've had collecting phases and things like that as well. My love for games is just as strong today as it ever has been. So my first job, when I was 16, I worked in a supermarket stacking shelves, and for reasons that I'm still not quite clear on, I decided not to go to university. Fast forward a year and a store manager position at Game came up, and I was fortunate enough to get that job, and thus began my 8 years at Game. Once I'd decided I'd had enough of that in 2013, the next thing that I thought was I'd like to do something where I work for myself rather than working for somebody else. I know about games, I know about retail, so what could I perhaps do for myself? What if I had some form of community area where people could come and play games? Because naturally you play games with other people. So I looked at what's the most reliable, easy to start small business. And I was no good at hairdressing, so it looked like it was going to be a coffee shop. It was about 3 years from sort of initial concept to having the confidence and the preparation to get to the point where we opened the doors of the OLL Cafe. The first couple of weeks went really well, and then it went very quiet. And I'm not going to lie, I was quite worried at the time. There was a few small gaming groups, like fan groups, dotted around. I would give them the venue free for a Saturday night, in return for them effectively bringing us people into our community. In turn, we were obviously then able to advertise their groups, so our exposure all kind of grew as a whole. Upon recognising that fighting games were a big thing, we started to do fight nights every Monday. When we did tournaments, we would put a photograph of the winner with a little trophy up on the social media, and people seemed to really respond to that. And of course that has now snowballed into the point where 4 years later, we're now doing live streams, we're doing big physical events, bringing everyone together, and just this constant expansion, which is fantastic to see. So after the first year, we had a regular schedule of events. It was then down to what do we do to look after this community that is potentially now outgrowing us in terms of our physical venue. Sort of end of 2019 that we started thinking about what if we had our own big, massive gaming event. We could bring all of our community groups and all of our regular customers together all in one go as one large big event. And it turns out that it was within the realms of possibility. So we were all starting to get quite excited about that. And then of course 2020 started. basically my entire world fell apart last March. We had so many great plans for what we were going to do over the next year or so. And the news came about, I think it was a 5 p.m. bulletin on a Monday night. And we were expecting to see 25, 30 people for a regular Monday fight night. And sadly, I just had to close the door and say, really sorry guys, but we are closing for an unknown amount of time. And it did seriously get to the point where I was considering phoning up all of our suppliers and partners and saying, you know what, I'm really sorry, but that's it. We simply can't continue. But there was something that changed that for me. Thanks to our Twitch and our YouTube output, we had a facility where the OLL community could still come together. We would stream some gameplay stuff, we would do a couple of quizzes here and there, a couple of podcasts. And then once we started to get news of things like vaccines and stuff coming along, we then started to then look again at the potential for doing this big gaming event. We decided to go big or go home, and so we have got the largest event space in the whole county, so that when the time comes that we get back in business, the cafe can get going again. We've now got this huge tentpole gaming event for the community and ourselves to look forward to. We found that the community has kept the OLL brand alive. I can sit here in front of my computer and just stream a few video games here and there, but it's really turned out to be the saviour of our entire business. So yeah, the future is looking pretty bright for us. So it was really a case of whatever people wanted to play at the cafe. I got a little distracted there because an ice cream van pulled up outside. Holy shit, what was I talking about? What was the question again on that one?